Welcome back to Shed Talks. Mark Allen. Winter is coming. The off season is here. Now is the time when you can do something really important. You can recover, you can recharge, you can regenerate. You can also lay the base that will help you to then bump yourself up into a new level next year. It's a true balance to be able to get this right, because if you rest too much, then you're not in the kind of shape you need to actually propel yourself upward. If you do too much training in the off season, then you don't recharge enough. You don't have those internal batteries strong enough to be able to handle the more structured, intense training later. It took me a number of years to get this right. In the beginning, I for sure did too much in the off season. And so, I got into shape very quickly, but then it was harder toward the end of the year to actually keep maintaining that peak that I needed. So one year I decided, okay, I'm going to really emphasize the rest part of this, and I didn't do a lot of training. January 1st, there was a ride in San Diego called the Hangover 100. You showed up, you rode 100 miles, didn't matter what you did the night before, didn't matter how late you were out. You got on your bike, and with everybody else, you rode 100 miles. That was my rest year. I got to mile 75, and I completely bonked. It didn't matter how much sport drink or whatever I could get in, it wasn't having any effect. I was in such terrible shape that I couldn't even go easy. I couldn't draft off of people even going 15 miles an hour. So I realized that year that, okay, resting is good, it's important, but you do have to do at least a minimum amount of training so that you don't lose everything completely, and so that you can just sort of transition back into the training in the season. So what are some of those minimums? For me personally, I think it's great if you can swim 2 days a week, a couple thousand yards or meters. That's plenty to keep the swimming muscles going, keep them activated, keep your upper body loose. Those muscles, that fitness will come back fairly quickly. Cycling, maybe 3 days a week, an hour, hour and a half ride each time. Again, not a lot of time, but it's just enough consistency so that you can transition back into that structured training later. Running does take a little bit more frequency to be in the right place so that when you come back and train and start to bump your fitness back up, your volume up in running, your tendons, your joints, and your ligaments can handle it. What is that amount? I like personally to run about 4 days a week in the off season, 30, 40 minutes, maybe a little more if that's something you want to do, but just that steady consistency will keep all of the things intact that enable you to manage the impact of running when you go back into more structured training. So again, it's a balance. You can certainly do more than I've recommended. 2 swims, 2,000 yards or meters, 3 bikes, hour and a half each time, running 4 days a week, 30, 40 minutes. You can do more than that. Just keep an eye on your volume day to day. Research has shown that if you do any more than about 3 hours of training, that you can start to compromise your immune system. It can be suppressed. And certainly this time of year, we want a strong immune system. So no need to push it, but keep that consistency up. That's my recommendation for the off season. Again, winter is coming. We're going to have a lot more tips like this, so stay tuned. Mark Allen for Shed Talks.